Samsung App's SDK is integrated with an emulator that will help you test the application before using it on an actual device. This video demonstrates basic use of the SDK software. After installing the SDK, open it through Program Files or from the shortcut on your desktop. We already have 2 user cases here to help with the tutorial, but we will also show the file structure when a new project or file is created. You can create new projects in 2 ways, by right-clicking and selecting New Project, or simply clicking the New Project icon. Now let's name the new file. Once this is done, it automatically creates a config.xml file. Here you can see the structure of the config.xml file. In the config file, you can put the required information such as app name. Also, we can give the app description, and you can provide your developer name. For example, we used Samsung SPS TV. Now once we have provided all the introductory details in the XML file, we can now begin creating the HTML access point for the application. We create a new HTML file and call it index.html. This is the structure of the newly created index.html file. Let's look at the already created files for the Hello World app to see how it's broken down. We'll put the developer name in the already created config file. In the index.html file, we have included the path of the JavaScript file to be called upon, which will describe the behavior of the application. This is the script syntax that describes which JavaScript file to call. In this case, name main.js in the JavaScript folder. In the body, we are providing the syntax to load this JavaScript file once the HTML document is loaded. Here is where you create the JavaScript folder and create the main.js file within which it will be sourced by the index file. This is the body of the newly created JavaScript file. Comparing this with the already created main file, we are first initializing the variable and then creating the onload function to be called upon. The alert shows the input mentioned in the log manager below when executed. This completes the first part of the initial Hello World tutorial. Now let's test and run it on the emulator, which can be done 2 different ways, either with a right-click option or through the emulator option next to Tools. Now you can see the alert command is displayed on the log manager, and you can see the text that we put in the index file of the body displayed in the main window. Now, after the first structure, let's look into the elements required to capture input for the emulator remote and execute functions based on them. Now let's see the index file for this specific purpose. You can see that we have included 2 common modules called widget.js and keyvalue.js, which are library files. The application manager uses the widget module to display itself on the screen. Second is the key value, which is the library file used, which has the keycode value to distinguish keys, as every key pressed on the remote has its own keycode value. Now let's try to beautify the app with CSS. The main.css is within the CSS folder. In the main.css file, you see that for the ID welcome, we are giving it specific background color, font size, alignment, and so on. In this case, we are using this welcome ID for the text to modify the text font and color in CSS. This is the element which registers the key down event from the remote. Now in the main.js within onload function, the sendReady event sends the message to application messenger. The focus anchor handles the key inputs from the remote control. The syntax below is a switch case which understands the key pressed and executes the event as required. You can get more information on this in the API document. Based on the key pressed, it shows the alert in the log manager. If left is pressed, it will show left. If right is pressed, it will show right. Now let's see its function on the emulator. As you can see, based on the keys pressed, you see the message and the alert in the log manager. When you press right, you see right key pressed. When you press left, you see left key pressed. When you press up, you see up key pressed. When you see down, you see down key pressed. And you can see the alerts in the log manager as well. An important point to note is that the config and the index file have to be in the root directory and not within a lower level like the JavaScript or the CSS files. As you can see, this is an introduction on how to use the emulator for building a Samsung app. After developing an app, it is always recommended to test it on a Samsung device. Hopefully this tutorial will help you get started with building your Samsung apps. For more information, please refer to the SDK documents or feel free to post a question in the forum.